first off, we should celebrate the hottest hitter in baseball right now, Mr. Chris
Chris
Davis.
Davis. That's right. I think remember. I think we might even talked about it last week. Like, remember
Yeah.
when Adam Dunn was so bad on the White Sox that
Oh,
like
yeah.
he finally got a hit one day on a Sunday afternoon, and the fans gave him a standing ovation, and it was probably the most sincere and
Sure. Yeah,
sarcastically
yeah, yeah.
done um, standing ovation, because like you wanted to leave the guy with a little confidence, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day
He's still on your
he
team.
wasn't doing it. Yeah, exactly, and he's part of the core. But at the same time, you should let him know in a subtle way, like, hey, dude, you're making a lot of money,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
this is not acceptable. But hey, that's like congratulations to him and his family. That first hit of the season is a special one. Um,
Yeah, especially going
and
0 for 50 something going back to last season, and then
yeah,
to end up with 3 hits, 2 of which were doubles, 4 RBIs on the day yesterday. Who would have seen that one coming?
and this wasn't the Chris Davis that that hit. There's two Chris Davises in the league. One is spelled with
Yes,
a K,
yes,
and one is with a C. This is the one with the C. We should note
and
the one on the Orioles.
they're both power hitters with low averages. Not usually this low of an average, but it's funny that
Hmm.
they have the same name, slightly different spelling, but they are the same kind of hitter profile.
And we'll see if they both end up with the same contract
Yeah, well, I think
eventually. Will that happen?
yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Also, the other Chris with a K, he's infamous for being insanely consistent. He's had a 247 or 248 batting average for 3 years in a row, which to land exactly at that number is just unfathomable.
Wow, that's pretty. What is it again?
It's something like
You were
247
breaking
or
up.
248.
Oh, okay.
247 or 248, yeah.
It's like Scott Fletcher, second
Yeah.
baseman type of batting average,
But
back in the day.
but Scott Fletcher didn't have an OPS quite like Chris Davis does. He can mash.
No. But he could turn a double play. I can
There
tell
we
you that
go.
much. All righty. So what did you want to jump in first with predictions, or do you want to go into contract craziness, because they're at it again with these
Well,
extensions?
yeah, we could. Yeah, we'll jump into that. Where do you want to take it?
Okay. Well, basically, it kind of like what is like this is changing the whole game.
Yeah.
These extensions and the approach to evaluation of talent, right? Like, let's face it,
Hmm.
no one's the days of getting the contract after you've become the MVP once or twice, uh, a batting title or two, or a Cy Young award or two, like in a World Series, and all of a sudden you get all that money, and it's a long-term contract, and then those days are over. Uh,
Yeah.
no one's getting rewarded for past um, accomplishments as much as they're going to be rewarded for what their potential upswing is,
Sure.
and that's where all that money is going into the youth, and you're not going to see an Albert Pujols type of
Oh
contract.
man.
I don't think moving forward anymore. Those days are
No,
over, and
I
they have
think
to be.
they do because so many teams have been. I don't know, but at the same time, it's like, hey, it's up to the team to make or not make that decision. So kind of like
Hmm.
that. It's not something that's outlawed. A team can still be an idiot, you know, or a
Yeah,
GM can still be an idiot. Yeah, Albert Pujols, and then you look back at honestly, a lot of angel contracts, even bad money that they were picking up. People like Vernon Wells. Um, and Josh Hamilton, another one where they were just on the hook and paying a
hmm
lot of money for a lot of years. And at times where the guys weren't even actively on the roster anymore. They were just sunk money.
yeah. They would actually trade the player just and be like, "Hey, man, give us a bag of baseballs and we'll cover the contract." Seriously,
Yeah.
just we can't have him on the team anymore. It's because I think it becomes like and I wouldn't call these guys cancers in the clubhouse, but I also
No.
wouldn't call them like like, hey, this isn't like helping
Leaders.
the situation either, or leaders, and it does. I think spread like a cancer. Like, wow, we have all these guys we're paying and they're not even here.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And like, I think it trickles down into the performance on the field. Um, I don't know, but yeah, I think the contract, those days are over. It's all about investing into the potential of someone
But
who's in the minors still. Which brings me to this point: we have this guy on the White Sox in the minors tearing the cover off the ball, uh, Robert Luis or Luis Robert.
Yeah, Luis. Yeah, Luis Robert.
Yeah. So like, at what point do we just give him an extension and he's not even in the minors?
Sure, not even in the majors. Yeah, just like we
I'm
did
sorry, yeah,
to
he's not even
Eloy.
in the majors. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, Eloy's, but we knew Eloy when they gave Eloy that contract extension. We
Hmm.
knew he was starting at that point. He was breaking camp with the team. We
That
just knew
was
that was going to be the case.
it was the right thing to do. I like that the White Sox did it because it would have been too obviously just a manipulation of his service time. But at that moment, he did not have a single at bat at the major league level. So
I know.
it was pretty.
That's like,
It was a
well,
record
sorry,
contract. No, no, no. Yeah, you're fine. So, but yeah,
but
do we already do
but
that
like
with more
these,
guys? Who knows?
right? But then it's they're bringing these guys up, and they're like, oh, we're going to secure these, insure these pieces up now. And these are people who are like not even close to arbitration eligible, but they're within.
Yeah.
They're playing at the major league level,
Hmm.
and they're like Ozzy Albies' contract. I mean, it's a nice extension, but he's not breaking 10 million a year at all on one of these in this contract. So they're getting him
It's
for under like 7 million, pretty much the duration of the contract, depending on the year, right?
yeah.
The
No,
way it's broken down.
it's absolutely incredible. There's a couple of option years in there as well. So if they if they use both options, basically if he stays healthy and even like mediocre at that point, we're looking at
Hmm.
I think it was a 9 million, or sorry, 9 year, $45 million deal, which for a star player, and he was an all-star last year, it's peanuts. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable how little
like
he's getting.
and I think he's leaving money on the table.
Oh my gosh, he's potentially leaving 100 million or more on the table over that time span,
Right.
including 4 free agent years that he's giving up. That's
But that's the thing. We talked about it last week. There's fear that has been
yeah,
instilled into the players. Hey,
yeah,
man, we're not giving out those contracts anymore. You know what? Sign up now and get your
yeah,
money now because who knows what happens. You want to try the free agent market? These guys, Manny Machado, he waited 4 months or whatever it was to make his decision. He he got what he wanted, obviously, but like not everyone's going to be Manny Machado or Bryce Harper,
sure.
right? They're not going to
Oh,
get all that
absolutely.
money. And if you're already showing up like 50 million a year to one guy, better get your money now. So they put
So,
fear in the player, and the player signs up for
oh
a
yeah,
long-term contract, and they leave value on the table. At least
yeah.
in my
As we've
opinion.
seen so many guys in the last 2 years go way late, with all this question, enter free agency without knowing, am I going to get anything, and then having to settle for maybe a 1 year deal. Maybe it still has a good pay for that 1 year, but they went out thinking that they were going to get a 5 or 6 year deal, but instead they're just having to
Hmm.
take what's left. And
Yeah.
so many people would wonder, as I did, why would an agent allow Ozzy Albies to sign this contract? What kind of an agent would leave that much money on the table? And then we find out his agent, or then I found out, his agent is also Craig Kimbrell's agent, which I think is completely fascinating. He's
Hmm.
Craig Kimbrell, of course, one of the great closers of our time.
Yeah.
He went into this past offseason looking for a 6 year, $120 million contract. Uh, Spring training came and went. He lowered his price to a 5 year, $100 million contract, and he's still waiting for the phone to ring. And so I don't know. Is that something that's motivating the agent? Is it Ozzy? We'd love to like get a look behind the curtain to see exactly how this went down.
Well, it makes you wonder what is the purpose of that agent then? Why have the agent? I mean,
Hmm.
if the team controls the player, right, for the
Yeah,
next 7 to 10 years, and they want to
yeah,
lock that player in now, today, for another 8 years, keep him happy, whatever, sign him, give him an extension with a lot of money. They're going to do that, first of all. Uh,
hmm,
the player's going to feel like, hey, man, the team's looking out for me. They have my best interest in mind. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but like the
yeah,
security is there. Uh, I'm already here with the team. There was really no negotiating. It was just a matter of like, hey, do you want to just get this done?
yeah.
Yes. Here's some money. Yes, perfect. What did the agent do to negotiate that contract? Probably
Yeah,
nothing.
it's a very good point, and he still got 10%.
Right, and he gets his 10%, but like that, it tells you that the gap between the front office and the players might be getting closer instead of wider because you don't need that middleman. And if that middleman doesn't need to be there,
That's true.
people like his agent, Kimbrel's agent, what's this guy's name? Who's the
Craig
agent? Do you
Kimbrell.
know his name?
Oh,
No, the agent.
yeah. Let
Because
me
like I'd be
see.
like, that's a red flag right there. You got one guy who's unsigned and he's like one of the top closers in the league, if not the top closer. And then you have another guy who's leaving money on the table. He's got potential for what another
Yeah.
100 million to make on the open market.
Oh, yeah.
That's there. I think there's a meeting on Monday morning in the conference room with this agent, and like it's like pack, put your box, get a box, put your stuff in it, and leave.
Yeah. And it was funny because, as I mentioned last week, that I couldn't believe that that Ronald Acuna Jr. signed a $100 million extension, which
Hmm.
100 million is a lot of money, but it also pales in comparison to the caliber of star he is. And then Scott Boras came out saying that that's one of the most egregious contracts in all of baseball. Oh, and then this comes a day or two later. Like, oh God, I can't imagine how much he's fuming because that undercuts his players too.
Oh yeah,
It's changing the marketplace.
the landscape. In fact,
Yeah,
people like Scott Boras, his whole business model changes because he can no
sure.
longer go after like rest on the laurels of like I can get you the big contract because you're a big time player. You've proved yourself. Trust me. Come with me. I'll get you the contract you need and I want. Right? That long term financial security. We're all going to be really happy. The
Yeah,
golden goose egg. But
sure. Yeah.
now it's like, and it's easy to cherry pick and identify those players once they've been established.
Hutch
Right?
is watching, by the way. So hey, great
Oh,
to
what's up,
see you.
Hutch?
It's been a while.
It's been a while, Hutch. Like I'm
We'll be talking
blushing.
playoff odds
Uh,
pretty soon, and right now we are talking about these somewhat odd and below market value extensions, specifically the recent Ozzy Albies extension that just was signed this year.
right, and like going back to the agencies, like the agents now have to approach it completely different. They have to, instead of cherry picking the top talent and getting them that contract, they have to actually go out and find the talent and scout it, just like
Hmm.
the front office has to go out and scout it before they draft it, so that they know who is the next guy that's going to make the next, $100 million contract while he's still in the minors.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I mean, sooner or later, the White Sox are either going to bring this guy up, Luis Robert or Robert Louis or
sure.
whatever, or they're going to give him more money and he's a minor.
Yeah, I don't. And then you got the Cubs with David Bodie. You seem like to me, Joe, you're frozen. I don't know if you can still hear me, but the Bodie contract was a weird one too because he's basically a utility player that is far from uh, getting his extension, far from arbitration. Not the type of guy you would normally really need to try to lock up. Um, Deal, but I know, just kind of an odd thing. And it looks like we've lost Joe for the moment, at least. Let me take a look again. We'll try to re-add him in. But yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, we don't even know what to say anymore about these contracts. Oh, hey, here you go, Joe. I believe you are back.
We're in the middle of our broadcast and it threw everything off. So I apologize.
What happened in the middle of the?
Somebody called and like on my phone.
Dude, they should. Is there anybody in America that's not watching this live that's that dense
Well, there's
to?
three people watching, so that means there's at least 297 million people who have not tuned in yet. And that's okay. I mean, they'll probably watch it. The Masters are on right now, dude. I don't blame anyone not watching this. The Masters are on, and Tiger Woods is literally about to either take the lead or he's like one stroke away. See, we just lost a viewer to go watch. Someone is now watching the
Oh,
Masters because I brought
you're,
that up.
you're, you're advertising somebody else right now.
Hey, dude, I would leave right now to go watch the Masters if I could. Oh, mercy. Anyways, but like we were saying, that agencies now have to approach their business models differently, and they have to scout talent like a major league front office would before they pick that guy in a draft, because those are the
Hmm.
guys who are going to get the money up front. That you're chasing the money,
Sure.
right? If you're an agent, you got to go where the money is the greenest. They're going to be the
Yeah.
greenest with the greenest talent. Those are the kids who are coming up through the minors. The older guys who have already proven themselves, hey, great, awesome. you know, no offense, but like they're just not gonna focus as much on those guys anymore
Yeah,
as they
and
will
we'll
on the
see
younger guys.
what changes in the new CBA when that gets negotiated. But these contracts are starting to, I think, make those negotiations more difficult because
Hmm.
players know that they don't have the power, and the teams are flaunting that a bit.
Yeah.
I think that the new minimums are going to go up quite a bit.
Hmm.
Just those guys that have 1 to 3 or 3 years or less of service time. I think that the league minimum pay has got to go up, and because of that, arbitration numbers will go up. So then those younger guys will get paid earlier. Probably it won't be enough to compensate for the lack of those monster contracts that we've seen in the past 10, 15 years, but
Hmm.
we shall see, I guess.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out, you know. And I think it's also should be noted. Last week we went to this topic like, hey, we talked about the value of of a typical Major League Baseball team, and we literally, I think we agreed that like maybe there's
Yeah.
four teams over $1 billion, uh, valued at $1 billion. It turns out every single team in Major League Baseball has a value of at least $1 billion. Uh, let's see, the
Hmm.
Yankees I think came in at like 3.6 billion or something like that, and the
Wow.
Marlins were at 1 billion. Even the Marlins are worth $1 billion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that tells
It's
you like what
amazing.
kind of
TV.
money
Yeah.
these guys are that they're pulling in, and you're probably going right into the TV contracts, right?
Yeah. Well, I was going to
Was
say,
that what
yeah,
you're going to
the
talk
amount
about?
of money that comes in through TV contracts, just the ad revenue, even not, they don't need to sell tickets to make a profit, which is the amazing thing.
No.
So that's all gravy.
Mm-mm. Yeah, the tickets are actually
Yeah.
like icing on the cake. Before you know it, they're going to probably
Yeah.
have to go to like central casting to get people to show up at the park. So when you're watching it at home, you know, it looks like, oh, that looks like a good product. I'll buy some of that, you know?
There you go. Well, I
Anyways, that
mean,
was a bad joke.
extras need work, and
Yeah, every day.
every day. So let's go into our predictions. I don't know if you want to go. Oh, we should probably go division by division.
Sure.
Um, oh, and I was just looking back over it, and it actually doesn't seem as insane anymore. But Albert Pujols, before we move on, the monster contract that is now an anchor in Anaheim actually doesn't seem terrible. 10 years, $240 million. That is like really slipped down the rungs since that was signed in 2012.
Right. But like, uh, that's a lot of money. Like, that's still 20 million or 22, 25 million a year.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's 24 on average. It's 24 million, but of course they always like to backload it. So here's the thing: is we know Pujols is a league average player at this point. Basically, he's not the superstar he once was. This year he's getting paid $28 million, 29 million next year, and then 30 million the year after that. What's he going to have left in the tank in the year 2021 when he's making $30 million? So
Do you think,
that.
uh,
Yeah. Go ahead.
do you think you give it back and just like, you know what, I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm not playing to the performance level where I'm earning this money, you know. I'm gonna gracefully bow out and just call it a career
That's
and just
certainly
get ready for the Hall
possible.
of Fame. You know what I mean? I mean that he's
Yeah,
a Hall of Famer. There's nothing much left to accomplish other than signing the check, endorsing it to the right bank,
yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
And that does happen. That does happen. Not very frequently, and not to those numbers probably. But
Right.
we have seen
Yeah.
some players walk away saying, I'm just done with the game. And even though I've got guaranteed millions coming, I could phone it in. But nah, you can have that money back, and we'll go our separate ways.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Or you could just
Or sometimes teams offer buyouts as well. It's like, we'll
yeah,
give you
that's
50%, give us the roster space back.
yeah. Well, not only that, but I don't think the players union would let that happen. Like, there's got to be some kind of a renegotiation. You're not just walking away from $28 million. Like, the
Yeah.
players' union would probably, you know, they'd get involved and be like, "Hey, we got to come to a settlement because this is going to impact future players down the line, and you're setting the precedent that like, hey, we're taking the money back, and that's not
Yeah. Yeah.
necessarily fair. We have a contract, so I do see that happening down the line as well. Something to talk about at the next meetings.
There we
Um,
go.
Yeah, so let's talk about standing.
Yeah, well, I'll update some of the, as I always like to here, we look at Baseball Prospectus playoff odds and see how much they've changed in the last week. So I'll kind of pepper that in, I think, as we're going through our predictions for the year.
Okay.
So do you want to start? We'll just go as it appears on here. Who do you see? How do you see the AL East shaking, ending up?
I like the Rays a lot.
Yeah.
They did win 90 games last year, and I think they will hold and contend most of the season. If not win the division, they'll probably get their wild card. Uh, I do see. I do not see Boston uh, figuring this out.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
don't. They're off to a horrible start. Obviously, they're 5-10 going into today's game. Uh, the pitching, you can tell, is just tired. You pitch a lot of innings. That whole staff pitched a lot of innings last year, going deep into the postseason, and it's starting to show this year. So, I mean, who knows? They could figure it out. But I see
Hmm.
the Rays winning that division and probably the
That's cool.
Yankees in second place.
All right. I always love, you gotta always love rooting for the Rays. Just how do the Rays do it? Ask Touch. Also, Wendy was down to getting paid to attend baseball games.
Oh, there you
Um,
go. Nice. Awesome. Awesome.
how do the Rays
I got to
name
turn
three
the.
starters in their lineup? Hutch asks. I'll tell you
I,
one. Avisail Garcia. He's definitely one former
yeah,
White Sox
right.
who ended up over there, and I thought, okay, we'll see Avi in a playoff game when he ended up signing with the Rays.
Yeah, I can't name any other. I can't name anyone off the top of my head. It's Sunday
Well, we
morning.
should. We just watched the White Sox get just
I
bombarded
know.
by them for 3 days.
When the
Wow,
Sox
Brandon
lose, I'll
Lowe.
be
There's the
honest.
second one.
When the White Sox lose, I will say this. I don't give them the attention when they lose. Like I just block the loss out of my mind and I move forward and I pretend it just did not happen. I don't read about it the next day. I don't want to hear about the box score. I just like, okay, we're just skating around that. So that's probably why like we got swept by the Rays. So it's like, all right, let's just skate around that. But like they do have
So
my
you
respect and
you
they
need
do,
hypnosis to recover those scarring memories.
yes.
They're
You
in
know
there
a guy?
somewhere,
Let me
man.
know. All right, well, send him my way. Um, so what do you got? Who do you think?
So I was when I was putting this together, I was trying to figure out should I put this together as if I didn't see the beginning of the season, since we're doing our predictions, a couple weeks into the playoff
Sure.
season, seems kind of unfair. So I tried to kind of find a happy middle ground. So I had the Yankees winning the division. They're really constructed very well, but obviously they've hit a lot of injuries, a ton of injuries. Their ace has not yet pitched an inning. Guys keep going down. So I don't know. I think,
Tulowitzki too, right? I mean,
yeah,
you roll the dice on that guy, and yeah, they got a really good deal on him, but like, he didn't last. Did he even start the season before he was going on
I
the
think he
DL
did.
or the
I think he.
IL, whatever they call?
Yeah, that's going to take a while for me to adjust to calling it
Yeah.
the injured list as opposed to the disabled list. But he went on the DL, IL. Geez, I just did it.
Okay, I
On the 12th,
understand. Well,
so just
injured
a couple
list
days
or
ago.
injured reserve, like football calls it the injured reserve list or something like that.
Sure.
But like,
But you
whatever,
got
dude.
Gary Sanchez, their catcher is down. Dilla Betances is out with a shoulder injury. Like I said, Severino is out. Didi Gregorius is out. Jacoby Ellsbury. Miguel Andujar, that's another big one. Their
Yeah.
third baseman expected to be out for still another couple of weeks. Geez, another one, huge one, Giancarlo Stanton. So, wow. The positive is most of these guys are expected back within the month of May. So they're not lost to the season.
Right.
I think they do have one injury that is all year, but so I think they have time to bounce back, I guess is what I'm getting at. The Red Sox, I never thought they were going to win this division because I always thought they were pitching thin. And I couldn't believe they did as well as they did last year. Would they be able to surprise me again? I was still holding firm or maybe being stubborn and saying no. But they're certainly a great team with guys like Mookie Betts and Jackie Bradley Jr. and JD Martinez and on and on. They've got the firepower to maybe fight through not a great pitching. So I still had them finishing second, then the Rays. but all of those three with more than 90 wins, and then Jays and O's finishing out
Yeah.
the
I don't.
rest
Yeah,
of
the
that
O's,
lineup card.
the Orioles. I just don't ever really. I don't take them serious at all, Scott, and I don't know why. It's they've had good teams in the past. I just
Yeah,
I think something
I'm
about
with
their
you.
owner. He does things out of spite, just to hurt the Yankees, and it's like he's not really playing to win as much. Just to him, it's a mint.
No,
It
he's a
prints
guy
money
that
for him.
attempts to fill out his lineup card, his roster card at the 99-cent store. But the
Right.
interesting thing is, I think the rest of baseball, or much of the rest of baseball, has said, well, it's kind of working for him. We can wait these
He
guys
makes money.
out, and
Yeah.
players get scared around spring training, and they drop their asking price. Yeah, we'll try it too. And the owners have been making that work for them. So
Yeah.
now the O's don't stand out as a team that's doing that because everybody's doing it.
Right. That's true. All right.
But they
So
are in an
you.
obvious rebuild world right now.
So are the whatchamacallit, the Mariners, and look at
So
them.
the AL West.
Yeah, I didn't
Well,
mean to jump there. I mean, we can go to the whatever. I'll let you steer the ship on this.
no,
So you
that's
tell me.
fine with me.
Okay, AL West it is, people.
Yeah. Last year I picked the
Uh,
Astros to win the World Series. It didn't work out. I was picking them to be the first repeat champs since the Yankees in the late '90s. But I still have them easily winning the West. Seattle, I put them second, and I wouldn't have done that before the season started, but they're just clicking on all cylinders too strongly.
hmm
A's have a good team, but I don't think they have enough to compete with Houston. Maybe I'd flip-flop the A's in Seattle. I'm not sure. They'd be close. And
Okay.
then the Angels, I love hating on the Angels because they just give me too many opportunities to.
Yeah.
If they were better, I'd say they were better, but they are a bad team. And Texas is in a rebuild, so they're at the basement.
Yeah, I would agree with you on some of this here. I think the
Sure,
Mariners are going to fade into third place. Astros will
sure.
take first, and we're looking at the A's in second, possible wild card. That's
Okay,
what I'm thinking.
okay.
You know,
All
I
right.
like the I like the A's. I think there's something about the A's. I think it's from like in the 90s when they won their two World Series, and the White Sox actually competed quite well against the A's for the division in 90 and 90 80. I think it was 90,
Okay.
1990. And
When the Bash
just
brothers were there?
yeah, and like they just were like such a dominant force and like but to be able to hang within like a game and a half or three games all season long with the A's, I just always had like a lot of respect for them. I think like a lot of people like look at it like White Sox, Yankees in the 50s.
Sure.
Although, you know what I mean, it wasn't all decade long, A's, White Sox, but like that was a pretty like, man, the A's just got us. They were just better. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
I always respected that. They were a really good team. They had a great manager, great pitching, hitting, and like everything was always clicking. And they seemed to always get in a really ragtag group of people and make it work with what they have. Their budget is not the biggest in Major League Baseball, so like they
Yeah.
compete though with the budget they have, which that's why they're scrappy.
Sure.
So
And just looking it
um,
up, it was 1989. Of course, the World Series that was interrupted by an earthquake, right?
yes, yes, it was. But in
Yeah, where they
'89, the
fought.
White Sox finished dead last in I
Uh,
think all of baseball. But 1990, they came out of the gate and they were like all of a sudden really good. And it was this is one of the last years of the AL West, American League West. There was no
sure.
Central Division at the time, so it
Yeah.
was you had like 15 teams in one side basically,
Yeah.
uh, or what maybe 8 teams I think
Eight
whatever it
teams.
was.
Yeah. Seven or
Um,
eight. Yeah. And in addition, White Sox fans had to watch the A's win the World Series with Tony La Russa at the helm, which may have stung a little bit extra.
yeah, but we had Hawk Harrelson.
He was managing at that point. It's like his
I
one
don't think he
year,
was
right?
managed. He
Oh, his
was
GM.
general manager one year, but like I think he came back to the dugout not to the dugout, the booth in like '89 or '90.
Gotcha.
No,
Gotcha.
I'm sorry. Forget it.
That didn't happen. Edit.
Yeah,
Um,
wipe.
yeah.
Next.
So let's head into to the division we know better than any other, the American League Central.
Yeah, My
And I'll let you. I
boys.
went first last time. I'll let you go here.
Okay. I think the Twins are going to probably win the division. Uh, and then,
They
on
they
down
just
the
yesterday passed the Indians to take first in the
yeah.
division.
I think the Indians are on the verge of getting swept by Kansas City today, if I'm correct.
Wow.
Um, so I do like I've been saying it for a couple seasons now. I think that as good as Cleveland has been and dominant as they have been, when you reach the
Hmm.
postseason, the World Series, uh, 2 or 3 years in a
Year
row,
after
whatever,
year. Yeah.
and you get close and it gets taken away from you, and then you have to restart that energy and building process all over again and maintain to get back to where you were a year ago, so you can have that shot at winning the World Series. That's really tough to match that, and to do it year in, year after with the same core. It's gotta like, man, it's exhausting. So I just don't think they're just gonna last. I think that as a team, they're gonna run out of gas and they're gonna have to start a rebuild soon, eventually.
Yeah.
Um, and then, so that's why I don't think they're going to win their division. I think it will be the Twins. I think they're poised. They're ready to take it. It's theirs. White Sox, who knows, man? If they could find some pitching, um, they might be able to click. But
Sure.
I think the White Sox's pitching is what's killing them the most. Their bullpen is just not strong
Existent. No.
at
Yes.
all. They actually remind me of the Angels bullpen from last year. Um, yeah, that's a great comment. The Indians have peaked. Long story short, that
Yeah.
long-winded whole thing, it was like, but that's what it is. They did peak, in my opinion. But like,
Well,
I think,
and combined with that, the fact that their ownership has not allowed their GM to put more money into the team, has not allowed them to build it up and to try to ride this peak. Um, I don't know. Is this a case of a greedy owner that's trying to keep a big profit margin even as their payroll goes up? But you think as the payroll goes up, viewership goes up, people come out to the stadium, it should help itself. And he complained that, well, we didn't last in the playoffs too long, so we didn't make as much extra money. So we're not going to be
mm,
able to reinvest, and we won't have this new bonus nest egg to reinvest in the team. And again, as I mentioned last week, I was pissed off as a White Sox fan that is a rival to the Indians. I was pissed off that they were talking about trading away their starters and going younger. Like, you're in the moment. You
yeah,
can, and he made some
it's hard to
comments
be a
that,
fan. It's hard to be a Cleveland fan.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Because
it
like
takes me
that's
back to be,
abuse.
it's major league all over again.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the owner's a stripper and she wants to sell the team. Maybe
Yeah,
that's what it is. Or he wants to sell it. He's a stripper and he wants to sell
sure.
the team. It's a new world, man. Things change. No, but I just see that Indians definitely have peaked to the point where it's like they're just there, they're sliding, and I would be upset too if I was an Indians fan. But I'm kind of enjoying the fact that they're just gonna fade away quietly, go away, no problem. We'll quietly ascend to our place because eventually we're gonna have to bring up Luis. We're gonna, and Cease.
Yeah.
Uh, these guys, I mean, that's going to be strong, but let's get some bullpen help. I was trying to say this earlier. The Angels bullpen last year was
Hmm.
brought in pretty much every fifth inning. Every game at the fifth inning,
Yeah.
we knew the bullpen was coming in. So if you're the opposing manager and you're setting your lineup, like, dude, just wait for the bullpen to come in. Their
Yeah.
bullpen's taxed. Their arms are tired. You know what? The starter's not going to last. We'll get through this, outlast the starter, and we'll win the game late in the late innings. That's what's going to happen to the White Sox if they don't get some bullpen
Sure.
help. They're just going to wait. Let's wait for the White Sox to take that starter out, and when they do, we'll pounce on that bullpen. So they need bullpen help, if anything, in my opinion. You know, and that's it. That's all I have to say.
So do you have the Sox finishing second or third, or where do you have how's it fold out beyond the Twins for you?
That's a good question. Oh, I have them fourth actually, because
Oh,
you
wow.
remember the Tigers are still there too. They're not going to just go away. I think the Tigers they've made some improvements in the offseason. No one's talking about them, so they're probably like, let's fly under the radar a little bit. And
It's
so
a
that's, yeah,
safe place to be, a no pressure place to be performing from.
right. That's true. But yeah, I would say, yeah, the pitching's got to get better, man. You don't win unless you have pitching. So the White
No,
Sox, yeah,
absolutely.
I'd say they're going to be in fourth place at the end of the year.
So
It
I
pains
still
me to say
do.
that.
Yeah, of course, of course. Well, this is supposed to be a year of continued growth and development for
Yeah,
the young guys, and at least the offense is clicking well. It's really awesome to see Moncada and Tim Anderson continuing, and even Lurie Garcia hitting in the upper 300s. Maybe not anymore, but he was around 400 a week ago.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, and of course, Eloy Jimenez finally hit his
Eloy.
first extra base hit, which was a double, and he followed that up a day or two later with 2 home runs at Yankee Stadium. So I think he's finally getting comfortable, and maybe we're about to see the beast of that terrorized minor league pitching. Maybe
You
we'll see
know,
that up here.
I got to tell you, I was thinking about this the other with Eloy. Uh, they brought him up, and he's in an environment where it's like it's a no pressure environment right now,
Yeah.
which is really, really good. And once he got the first two dingers, on Friday night, which by the way, Steve Stone predicted that. He said he's going to hit his
Yes.
first home run of the season this weekend in Yankee Stadium, and it could be tonight. Um, and he did it in some pretty crappy weather, which is like, well,
Oh my
they
gosh,
were
driving
they
rain.
were
Yeah.
yeah, and it was there was some pretty like exit velocity, all that fun stuff. It went some distance, man. He hit the
Oh
crap out
yeah,
of the ball.
over 400
Um,
feet.
but with that being the case, he's in a no pressure environment right now. This is probably a good time to bring up another player who's on the verge and just tearing the cover off the ball, get them some major league at bats, and that would be Robert. Bring this guy up from the minors, let him start playing, give him some at bats, but put him in right field, center field, wherever, and let's see what he can do. He's playing above his pay grade right now in the minors.
The issue though, and I'm very excited about this player as well. This guy is another person I feel is the core of our future. He is
Hmm.
tearing it up right now. Just to give some stats, he's over 9 games. He's batting a modest 475 with an on-base plus slugging over 1,500. He's got 5 home runs, 15 RBIs, 15 RBIs in 9 games. However, he's in single A advanced right now. So that's a
Yeah,
long way from major league. So maybe he's ready to be bumped up to double A or even yeah, double A.
triple.
Let's see. Yeah, maybe leapfrog, put him straight into triple A and see
Yeah,
how he handles that jump. And maybe he'll be able to find his way all the way up the depth chart by September. But the guy that is a lot of people are looking at as maybe making it to the bigs this year is Nick Madrigal,
yeah,
who is a middle infielder. He was the first round draft pick of the White Sox just last year. He has
yep,
already gone up the depth chart a lot, and he's only going to have to push out Yolmer Sanchez to take some playing time away. And Yolmer is a fun clubhouse guy. He's a lot of fun to watch play, but he's not performing very well. He's not a guy you build a team around. Sorry to say, good old number 5 there, but yeah.
I'm just gonna let that sit out there. I'm not gonna respond to that, Scott. Just let
In
it just
case you
sit.
guys end up being Instagram buddies,
Yeah,
or,
you never know in
but
this
yeah,
world, Scott.
no,
Honestly, I agree
that's
with you
why I
though.
don't.
I do agree with you. I think he'll be up by August, actually, if not before, because again, why not? If you have no one other option and you're not willing to go out and spend the money on
Mhm.
a premier player who can come in and do that job, then bring someone up from the minors who's like that guy. I mean, obviously, we're all at a point where we're giving people extensions before they're arbitration eligible.
Yeah,
So service time really doesn't matter anymore, in my opinion. Screw service time. Just bring him up, and if he doesn't cut it, cut him loose. Cut
yeah,
the investment.
that's the service time manipulation is definitely something that's going to change when the new CBA happens. So all of this like tinkering, it might be all for naught. It might not matter in a year. That
Right.
it might be all reconfigured anyway. So yeah, I'm looking. Boy, it would be fun to go down and see the Winston-Salem Dash because that's where Luis Robert is playing, and that's where also Nick
Yeah.
Madrigal is playing. So both of those guys are at single A advanced right now.
That's funny you bring that up. It's like at one point, when does Major League Baseball become secondary to minor league baseball? Because we're all obsessed over the talent that's in the minors that's
In the
going to come up to
pipeline,
the
yeah.
show. Yeah, and it's like that could be a really big boom and spark of business for minor league baseball because
Well,
like
that
fans
is
are now
something
looking at
that,
that.
yes, and it's going to happen more so when more teams, as we were talking about last week, more teams start to have their own channel and can take care of their own programming. I think we'll start to
Yeah,
see that more. And that is something we saw in Chicago last year. I think, I can't remember, I think it was the Charlotte Knights had a handful of games on
yeah,
regular, whatever the sports channel is up here. It keeps changing the name, It's Comcast
Comcast,
Sportsnet, Fox Sports, I don't know.
right?
But anyway,
It's
so getting back to
it's
predictions,
oh yeah.
I, I
Uh,
I'm still
where do you
picking.
find them?
Yeah, I still again I'm battling um, with were these my preseason predictions or my current moment predictions? I still have the
Right.
Indians on top. However, as we were talking last week about how when the Cubs ownership didn't put any money into the team, it seems to have allowed the Cubs to come out flat because they don't feel like they have the support behind them,
Hmm.
and I think that is happening in Cleveland as well. Add to that. Uh, Danny Salazar, one of their starters, is out until the summer. Francisco Lindor, one of their best players, is out. He's been out since April 3rd. He's out till at least April
Wow.
25th. Losing him is huge. And then just recently, and the White Sox just played him, and we could see how nasty this guy is. Mike Clevenger, their side-arming starting pitcher. Uh, White Sox did
Man.
get to him in time, but man, oh man, was he good. He's out until at least June 15th. So the Indians will not be able to bounce back from that. I wrote them down at first place, but maybe it's because I just don't buy into the Twins as much as I'll be the guy that undervalues the Twins and gets shown wrong this year, I think.
Uh, You never know. I think this is the changing of the guard in the Central. I like Hutch said it earlier in the comments. The Indians
Hmm.
peaked, and I think everybody knows it in that division,
Yeah.
and like there's two teams that are probably in a position to actually strike and make a dent in the Indians, armor, and that would be either the Twins or the Tigers. Um, I just don't see the Royals. The Royals could probably, if anything, the Royals will go back to playing the role of spoiler.
Yeah.
They don't remember that. Like they would always
Oh
be like the
yeah.
White Sox is like thorn in the side. Often the Twins were that guy too. But they would play other teams and they would dominate them. But like they get to the last place crappy team and that team would just dominate the White Sox. That could be the Royals this year. And I think they'll relish in the fact that they can take down and help another team take down the Indians.
Sure.
Um, and the
I
White
didn't
Sox are
notice
just
that
kind of,
Gordon Beckham is a Tiger now. That's weird to see.
well, then let me change my prediction and put them down to the White Sox will now finish third, and the Twins, or not, sorry, the Tigers will finish fourth.
There we go.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, see, I'm not a
Uh,
big believer yet in the Tigers either. And again, I could be proven very wrong. Jordan Zimmerman, who is their ace, at least at one point was considered their ace, he hasn't been good for a couple of years, and maybe I just don't know enough about them right now to give them the respect that they're due.
all right, well, that's cool. I respect
So
that.
I put the White Sox at third place, having
Okay.
with the idea that they'll be getting some reinforcements and call-ups through the year, which will make them better. As you were talking about, their bullpen is bad. Their starting pitching is not great. They've got a couple. Of course, Lucas Giolito is great. Carlos Rodon is great. Ronaldo Lopez, I like a lot, but he has not been good yet this year. So hopefully he figures it out. And then we got Irvin Santana, So I can't wait for Covey, Cease. I can't wait for some of these minor league names to come up and start getting some innings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
and
just going back to the
Ivan
White
Nova
Sox,
as well. Yeah.
there's a couple players, a Cy Young Award winner is not signed, from what I understand. You know
Yep.
what I mean? There's a couple players out there that yeah, you lost out on the Manny Machado sweepstakes. Big deal, dude. It's just another offensive player that's going to hit another bunch of home runs. And right now, there's no shortage of home runs in Major League Baseball. Everyone's hitting them, if you haven't noticed. So, like, what we are lacking more than anything, because even without a Machado, our lineup looks pretty decent in terms of like offensive power. Offense is there. What we are
Yeah.
missing is the pitching. And when they lost out on Machado, they didn't even shift focus to to consider pitching, whether it be bullpen help or a starting like another starter. I mean, we got Irvin Santana. That was
Yeah.
the solution. That was the consolation prize. Really? Like we could not find somebody else. So I just think that I could understand why White Sox fans are like, what the hell is going on in that front office? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where are the priorities, and how did we not shift them to a pitching point of view? And you got a guy who's not signed who won the Cy Young Award. Why aren't we calling that guy's agent?
Yeah,
Why aren't
you'd
we
think.
getting, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd think we could hammer out a multi-year deal at a reasonable rate. The Sox have plenty of payroll space,
Oh God, yeah.
and you gotta love having a guy who has been there because he's a World Series winner as well. You gotta love a guy that's had that kind of experience around and in the rotation, hanging out in the bullpen, hanging out in the dugout with all these young guys, and being able to mentor as well as perform on the field. So I don't know. I think
It,
that's a huge missed opportunity.
I thought so, and like obviously there's other teams too that could be doing the same thing, but the big
Yeah.
glaring hole in this lineup and this roster is pitching, and the fact that they haven't even addressed it because they got stuff in the pipeline. Well, then bring
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
pipeline up, man, because like this is BS. This is not cool. Um,
Just looking around
uh,
at other free agents that are still out there,
mhm.
Big Sexy Bartolo Colon has yet to pitch in a major league game this year. I don't know if he's in
See,
someone's minor league system, but
I would. That's
that'd be
another guy.
fun.
I would have bring. He's a guy to bring in, especially in a year like this when everyone's like, "Hey, we need someone to liven this up and like kind of have some fun with the promotions." That guy
Oh
would be
man.
fun to have in the clubhouse or to have on the team. He was on the team once already, and like he was fun to watch, man.
Oh
Like
yeah, absolutely.
I think yeah, it would be bring him on. I welcome that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm glad I
He
thought of it.
he yeah.
No, I'm
He may have
kidding.
announced his retirement, and I'm just not remembering for sure. But he's still
I
listed
actually
as
thought the
a free agent.
I actually thought the White Sox had him in, like they signed him to a minor league deal for spring training, but he just didn't. Maybe that was not. Maybe I don't know. Maybe who knows?
Nah.
It doesn't
Anyway,
matter.
so let's head on over to
So,
the National League now. As I see, we're a good 15 minutes or so into the show. We are
oh
taking our
wow.
time.
All right,
So
let's
the
get
and
on
oh,
here.
and I have my wild card teams, both coming out of the AL East, being the Red Sox and the Rays. Um, so that's a very stacked division, I feel. So just
Well,
to finish up on the American League there, and I'm gonna go like last year. I'm picking Houston to go all the way into the World Series. That'll be our pennant winner out of the American League.
well then, all right. So that goes back with your or our theory that it's one and done. Take a year off after you win the World Series, rest up. The next season, you win the World Series. That's what could happen this year with
There we
what you're
go.
predicting.
Yeah.
So, very cool. I would say the pennant, or I didn't really give you my wild card guys. Let's
You
see.
were thinking the A's, I think you said, and I don't know if you would give me two. I think you
Uh,
said the A's for one.
I like the A's. I know that. I'm going to go with the Yankees. No, I'm going to go with the A's as the wild card and the Twins. Twins are,
Okay.
I don't know. I can't do that because
It,
the Twins are
it's
going to win their division.
oh no, that's true. Well then, yeah.
Yeah. You know what? It's probably going to be, I don't know. I
The
really
Twins
don't.
are going to be so good, they will take two playoff spots.
Yeah, how about that?
First time in history.
And it's something baseball has never seen before. No, I'll go with the Yankees as their the wild card. I'm
Any
gonna
team
just
with Aaron
that
Judge
many
and a
injuries.
couple of those great youngsters in there. And again, those injuries, most of them should be just a couple of weeks more. So
Yeah,
they'll be back at pretty close to full strength soon. And as soon as
cool.
they get Luis Severino back, that's a huge game changer for him.
Hmm.
Okay, on to the National League East. Uh, I don't know. I think this maybe have changed a little bit, but I was entering the season thinking that the Nats are going to lose Bryce Harper and end up being a better team in the end. They'll be a more balanced team. So I put the Nats winning the East, Braves close behind. I love the Braves so much, that young team, young, exciting, fun team. And they got again, one of these interesting veteran signings on a one-year deal in Josh Donaldson. And what does he have left in the tank? I don't know, but he has a lot to prove. So he might come and be a real great force for them. So I have them finishing second. Phillies, I do like a lot. I mean, Bryce Harper is good. JT Realmuto is amazing. He's, to get all-star caliber out of a catcher is a huge shot in the arm. So I kind of want to put the Phillies higher, but there's just so many good teams in the East that I have them third. And trailing behind them, Mets, who have done better than I'm giving them credit for. And then, of course, Miami last.
You're not kidding. This is a pretty competitive division this year, and I'm going with the Marlins to take it across the board. They will probably win the pennant and then move on to the
Any team with Jeter you can't count out.
Dude, I mean, that team is just like, I mean, have you seen their Sunday road uniforms? It's pretty cool. They take batteries, but they're really cool uniforms. No, obviously the Marlins are finishing last. I'm going to work up my way up the chain here.
Sure.
But I do see Nationals in fourth place, kind of like where they are right now. It's really going to come down to, I think, Atlanta or the Phillies. The big surprise here is, though, who could be that spoiler team. I think it's going to, that could be the Mets. No one really, I think people counted the Mets out this year because so much was happening in this division with Bryce Harper going to the Phillies, and then they making such a statement that we are here to win and we bring people here. So like the Mets just kind of again got put on the back burner, it seemed. So I see the Mets. They're off to a great start. They're in first place by like a half a game, but like is that going to last? It's really early. This is a competitive division, but I'm putting the Mets third. I'm going to go with the Phillies in first and Atlanta in second place. I like Atlanta a lot. I think their energy is really strong, and they know that they are a force to reckon with. Whether it's going to be this year or next year, like they got a core of people.
They'll be around.
Confidence. Yeah. So like they could, who knows? I mean, no injuries. They could actually take it.
Yeah.
But right now I'm going with the Phillies to take the division. And then second place, Braves, then the Mets, Nationals, and then Marlins.
Boy, Nats all the way down to fourth. I like that we have a big difference between us. And I think mine's a long shot to put them at first, but I'm still going for it. And
cool.
to get back to the Mets, they had an awesome offseason that it did get overshadowed because they didn't sign a several $100 million player, but they acquired J.D. Davis. They acquired Keon Broxton from the Brewers, which is a great pickup, very good center fielder, and don't forget that in one trade they picked up Robinson Cano and great closer Edwin Diaz. They really reshaped their team with a lot of good proven people, and also I like Wilson Ramos that they picked up on a 2-year free agent deal.
He's a catcher, right?
Yes, he is, and he's batting .350 so far this year. He was an all-star
cool about
catcher
that,
with the Nats.
I was gonna say he came over from the Nats, which is like that's your division, man. That's got to hurt a little bit too. You got one of the big, that's another big player leaving the Nats, going to a different team in the same division. So
yeah, well, he was traded away in 2017. So it's funny. He actually last year he played with Philly, so still another interdivision move.
Going from Philly to the Mets.
He likes the East.
Interesting. I don't know. Hey, who doesn't like the East Coast? Me. Yeah.
And I'll let you go first and have fun in the National League Central predictions here.
Cool, man. Well, I like the Brewers because I just like the Brewers and I like their uniforms and their logo. Is that what does your shirt say there?
Yeah, I've got a Milwaukee shirt on right now, actually.
Oh, cool.
So,
did you know like the Milwaukee Brewer logo has like an MB?
MB, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Like the catcher's mitt or the mitt.
It's subtle, exactly.
Very. I like this team. They just manhandled the Dodgers yesterday. And I think that this is a really dominant team. The Cardinals, I think, are going to probably finish second. And then you move on down the rest. Flip-flop the Reds and the Pirates, it doesn't matter. I don't think either one of them are going to move beyond that. One of those positions, third or fourth. Fifth is going to be the Cubs. The Cubs did not improve their team from a year ago. Other teams in their division got better. Logic tells you there's going to be a change in the standings this year, and someone might not make the playoffs for, the first time in like 3 years. Um,
Yeah, or
and I,
more.
so or more. Yeah, I think they've won their division 3 straight years or 4 straight seasons. The Cubs.
Well, they were wild card last year, thanks to the Brewers
Uh,
coming up,
that's
snake biting
right.
them at the very end.
Yeah,
Yay,
yeah.
Brewers, says Wendy.
So I definitely
Um,
think the Brewers
yeah.
will finish first. Cardinals, Pirates, Reds, third or fourth, it doesn't matter. And then the Cubs will be in last place. Um, yeah, that's my prediction.
All right, we're pretty close on this one. I do have the Brewers winning as well, and I'm admitting bias. I love the Brewers, but any team with Christian Yelich on it and Lorenzo Cain, they're just such a stacked team. The
Yeah.
question mark is their pitching, which they've just been dealing with injuries, but they've been dealing with injuries for a couple of years, and it hasn't stopped them from continuing to win. They are getting linked a lot to maybe picking up Craig Kimbrell to bolster their bullpen. And if they do that, that's a huge game changer. That shifts the power even more in the Central. I
Hmm.
hope that happens. Um, let's see. I've got the Cardinals next. I love Paul Goldschmidt. That was such a great signing and extension, or trade, I
Hmm.
should say, and extension. And they've just always been a solid team. I have the bottom three all being very close. I put the Cubs ahead of Pittsburgh and the Reds. I got the Reds in last place. They're going to be a fun team to watch, but there's a lot of big names that are past their prime, or people that I don't know. A lot could change, but I think it's a three-way battle for I don't know for the bottom. I shouldn't count Pittsburgh in that same combo because Pittsburgh has played very well so far. But yeah, definitely Milwaukee and Cards, the top two teams.
Okay.
But I do have
Hey,
the
I had a
Reds finishing last.
quick
Yeah,
quick thought here. You brought up Craig Kimbrell or Kimbrell. Is
yeah.
it possible he's pulling a Roger Clemens
And
towards the
he'll
end of
sign
Clemens,
in June.
June or
Like
July, and then like he misses half the season, but he's like his arm's ready to go
it could
for the,
be
you know what I
at
mean?
that point too. I think
That could be an
Craig
interesting
Kimbrell is
strategy.
attached. Yeah, I think he's got a draft pick compensation attached to him, meaning that whoever signs him will have to. Yeah, the Cubs are headed for a major shakeup. Yes, and it's going to start with their manager.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
think
who
so
they would
too.
trade off, but yeah, Joe Madden. Even last year, it seemed like his head was. He was the Ned Stark, just in waiting.
Yeah, I
Uh,
kind of feel the same way. I think he's cut loose after this season if they don't make the playoffs.
oh, yeah, no, I think so. But also Theo Epstein. What's it going to take for him to be on thin ice? I know he brought the North Side their first championship in over 100 years, so
Hmm.
he'll always be a saint over there. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know if it's ownership or him right now that's just not doing anything.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think he will be held as a saint in years to come. If they don't get, if they don't get sustained success and they don't win the World Series and he gets a second one, it's all for nothing. He's just as good as Kenny Williams
Yeah,
in
it's true.
Chicago as well. At the end of the day, everyone loved the White Sox and Jerry Reinsdorf and Kenny Williams about 12 years ago. Now
Yeah,
everyone,
yeah.
or whatever the year,
The
14
architects,
years
as they
ago.
called him.
Yeah, exactly. Now they're like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. They need to sell the team. Get rid of these guys. Same will be applied to the Cubs and their front office, man. It's clockwork. It always happens, you know. And they don't play
Yeah.
with an edge. I think they're playing not to lose, and they're all comfortable. Everyone's got their contracts. They all made their money. The Cubs have already said we're not going to go invest more money. So if you're the
Yes, they
player
have.
on the team and you're hearing that, okay, we're just going to have a good time this year. It's going to be fun in the sun. Boys of summer. All right, guys, let's have let's just play baseball. No pressure. We're not going to try. And because front office isn't trying.
So
So,
yeah, and I think the front office sets the tone in a lot of ways. I just want to take a
yeah.
quick look at who does still have something to play for that doesn't have a guaranteed contract. Well, Chris Bryant, he's going into arbitration, so he's an extension candidate type. He's
Hmm.
only going. He's a super two player, so he goes to arbitration 4 times. So he's got 2 more coming. Ben Zobrist, he's pretty much the end of his career. Anthony Rizzo has an option next year. Jose Quintana has an option. He'll get picked up. He's cheap.
Hmm.
Let's see who else. Some Bullpenners, who knows what the hell's going to happen with Edison Russell. Schwarber is still an ARB guy. He's an extension candidate, depending on how much they still love that guy, love that guy.
Overrated. He's kind of like, Palka. Not to like diss on Palka, Daniel Palka on the White Sox.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
Hutch, I agree with you. The White Sox's future is a lot brighter right now than at least it seems that way than the Cubs. Who knows? Things can happen. But like Daniel Palka had a breakout season last year with the White Sox. This guy crushes the ball, has the best exit velocity in baseball. If that means anything to anyone these days. To me, I think the whole idea of talking about exit velocity, it's like, dude, it just left the park. Who cares? It's another run. It's just an insane stat to talk about, in my opinion. But he's not off to the start this year that he was off to last year. And I kind of feel like we're getting the Schwarber effect. It's just that he's not dealing with an injury that Schwarber had after 2016. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So or before 2016, whenever his injury was. But like there's that sophomore year where that like, you know what I'm saying? Where there's that
the sophomore slump. Yeah.
Yeah, and there seems to be a drop off right now with him.
Palka got Rookie of the Year votes last year. He had 27 home runs. This year, his WAR, which is another fun stat. I like the WAR stat. He's at a negative 0.7. That's after a short amount of time. That's how bad he's been. Almost been a detriment of a whole loss himself to the team.
Yeah. So like again, like there's a lot of patterns repeating themselves. It's just they're on a different roster, same type of players, archetypes, if you were archetype players. And that's what I'm just like, it's kind of like, are we going to have the same kind of like overratedness are we putting too much stock into this player because based on the history, it doesn't work out. Like there's that slump, there's that drop off in production and people get relaxed and comfortable.
Perhaps nobody was rooting against Chris Davis more than Daniel Palka. Because if everybody's looking at his hitless streak, they're not noticing that Palka is currently 0 for 25 on the season. He has yet to pick up his first hit of the year, too. Yikes.
Yeah. How about that? So,
anyways, sorry to cut you off on that, but I had to throw that one out there.
No, definitely, dude. That's wow. That's we got to have a meeting with Daniel, I think.
Yes.
Get off Twitter, Daniel, and get back into the batting cage.
Is everything okay at home?
Yeah. What do we need to do? How can we help you be more productive here? Are we doing anything wrong? When you have that conversation, there's a trade in the works. They're getting ready.
Yeah. All right. So finally, the last division to talk about is the National League West, and I should send it over to Joe first, who is coming to us live from the National League West, not too far, just north of Dodger Stadium.
Live from Pasadena.
Yes.
I still have the Dodgers winning this division, but I have the Padres finishing second. I like the Padres. They're off to a hot start. Forget Manny Machado. All right. It's great he's on their team, but let's just remove him from the team. And you got some pieces that are like really starting to click. And they had a really hot closer right now. I think Wavinger or something like that. This guy is like, he's got hair like I do. And it's like awesome, but like he throws really hard, man. And he's racking up saves left and right. Obviously got Tatis Jr., who was in the White Sox's farm system. This guy made a hell of a play yesterday from throwing off his foot, like running throw deep, basically behind third base almost. Got the runner. It was if you could watch the replay online. It was a great play. Plus the guy's hitting home runs. The guy has a beautiful home run swing. I don't think they need Manny Machado. This team is going to be like really hot. So yeah, I like this team, and they know that they're one of those teams that have that attitude the Braves have. We may not do it this year, but
that's a great comparison.
People know we're bad ass, and we're going to be bad ass. You know what I'm saying in the future. So like, here's a little taste of what you guys can, what you're going to see down the line.
Sure.
And then their
closer is Kirby Yates. Just to jump in, he's got 9 saves already and an ERA of 0.90. So yes, absolutely a great start for him.
Yeah, you're looking at that's an all-star right there, or at least player of the month or the Rolaids, relief
Sure.
pitcher of the month, whatever they
They,
call it,
that,
if
that
there
doesn't
is such a
exist
thing.
anymore, which is
It
annoying.
doesn't?
No,
Really?
I actually looked that up not too long ago. Like, oh, I wonder who's been winning that, but no one.
You know who won it for the way? Bobby Thigpen won it one year
Sure. And then I
when he
remember,
had 57 saves.
who did the White Sox trade Keith Folk for? Do you remember that one? He was a side armor. It was a guy who just won the Rolaids reliever of the year, and then the White Sox traded Keith Folk for him, who was a very solid uh, closer himself. And then it was Billy Koch, something like that. And then he just bombed. He just was terrible with the White
You know,
Sox. So
it was the goatee. He had that little like Fu Manchu thing on his like. It just didn't like no. Get rid of that dirt.
yeah,
Anyways,
so
so
it was discontinued after 2012 was the last year that they gave out that award.
that's too bad. What did they
Yeah, it was.
replace it with? There's got to be another. And then they replace it with something like the Modium AD Relief Award or something like. Here, let's get back to my standings here. All right, so
Yes.
Dodgers, Padres for a second. Third, I really thought that I actually thought the Rockies would be higher up here and finishing third, but they're in last place right now, and I think they're the big surprise here in terms of like that was not expected. So I actually have them closer to third place to finish the season, but I mean, I really didn't think the Giants would have such good pitching right now going into it. I know they're 7-9, but like Jeff Samardzija is still pitching at a pretty high caliber level. He had a great start over. I think he had 7 or 8 strikeouts, 7 shutout innings or something like that. And his ball, his pitches were moving, dude. He was getting good movement.
Yeah.
And then the Diamondbacks, so like I have the Diamondbacks actually finishing last this year.
Gotcha.
But things are kind of like, the lower half of that division is kind of surprising me a little bit. But
No, it's funny that the West is turning out to be a weak division, and it hasn't been that way for a while.
yeah, yeah, no, I
You know,
agree. And it's interesting. But like then again, who knew I mean, I don't think people thought the Padres would be off to such a hot start.
no, absolutely didn't. So I have a very similar shakedown. The Dodgers are still number one. They've been there. They know how to do it. They even with Clayton Kershaw being on the shelf to start the season, they're still a 500 team. He comes back. As long as he's even a shell of his former self, he'll still be a good quality starter. And you got to love Walker Buehler. He is a very fun player to watch. I fell in love with him watching him in the playoffs. A rookie who was handling himself with poise in these tough situations during the playoffs last year. So I do have the Dodgers kind of running away with it, actually.
Yeah,
I also have the Padres number 2, and your Braves comparison couldn't be more spot on. They're a young, exciting team. And what the hell happened? The White Sox had Fernando Tatis in their system. They traded him for James Shields, of all people. And as soon as he went to San Diego, he was a highly regarded prospect. But nobody noticed him, apparently, in the White Sox system. So I don't know what failure happened there, but
that's
that's all you can call it.
White Sox Twitter. That's one of the big grievances on White Sox Twitter is that
Sure.
hey, how did this happen? This guy
Yeah.
slipped through our fingers. Now the White Sox have went out and signed his brother this
Yeah,
week,
just this week.
and it's like, okay, great, no problem. It's in the blood. I get it. But like, what makes you think that? I mean, I don't know. It just seems like you had the opportunity. Are they gonna screw this one up too? I mean, like, I just
Yeah.
don't trust the front office at this point. I don't think they're. I mean, I think they've lost their way a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
In
the
terms of
thing
like,
that I
we
like
keep
is
going back to the
that
White Sox. I'm sorry, but like, damn
we
it, dude.
do.
It's like,
It's what we know.
yeah,
But people have criticized rightfully that the White Sox don't know how to draft. Now they did. They drafted Chris Sale. They drafted Mark Burley. So they do have some hits. But of course they have way more misses, like way more misses than hits, which I think works out for. Let's let other people draft. We'll sign players, send them to contract extensions like Adam Eaton, and then trade them and get those guys because other people know how to draft and we don't. So we'll find a way to get to other
yeah.
people's good draft picks. But then we actually did draft well with drafting Fernando Tatis Jr. and we just gave him away.
Oh, it's like, and this guy's like, he's like, he will be fun to watch in the field as much at the plate. 'Cause like this guy's got poetic. He's like poetry in motion. I mean,
Yeah.
I go back to this play last night against who did they play last night? Was it the Diamondbacks? I think. Yeah. So like, uh, this guy not only hit a bomb, I think it went to the 413 mark, dead center in center field over in Arizona. And
Yeah.
then you just see this defensive play, and he's like backhanding, running on the throw, off balance, and he gets the runner. And it was a deep like throw to make. So like it's like this guy's gonna be fun to
Yeah.
watch. Like it's just it's hard. It's you don't get to see players like this, man. That's like a Derek Jeter type of player. He's just gonna We're
Sure.
just gonna sit back and like players will be like, yeah, we get to watch him from the dugout. You know, I mean, like that's cool. Like that's the kind of player he is. I think Jimenez is the same way.
Sure.
When he hit that home run in New York on Friday night, the first one, he came back to the dugout and he had smiles on his face and he knew he wasn't going to get
Sure.
a high five, but he was putting it out there anyways. Like, that's cool, man. This is going to be a fun guy to watch. We haven't had a player like that since Thomas, who's come up through
Oh
our
yeah.
system, and we brought him up, and like the expectation was there and met all within at the same time, and like, wow, this is going to be fun. He will be fun to
That's
watch.
that's
Tim
cool.
Anderson's developing the same way. Wow, he's going to be fun to watch. Mancada, wow, is he going to be fun to watch? Everyone on this
Yeah.
team, when you look at that lineup and you see Abreu's name, Alonso, Abreu, Mancada, and Jimenez, all those like right there, and Anderson, you're like, oh my God, this is a formidable lineup. You got to pitch to them.
Yeah.
You
Suddenly they
can't
are.
just, yeah, all of a sudden you're seeing good pitches, you know. So like the offense is there. It's the pitching. So like who do we trade? What piece do we need to trade to get like a reliable middleman who can like go 2 innings max on a random day? Um,
Yeah.
you know, Nate Jones is like obviously I like Nate Jones. I think he's going to do just fine if he's in the position to save. But like if you're putting him in there to hold a lead, bring him in with runners on, that's not his style.
Yeah, and we do have the Colome. I think it's Alex Colome, who is a
Yeah.
established reliever, and he seems to be our closer now. I like him. Kelvin Herrera is a veteran
Hmm.
that's trying to make a name for himself again, show that he's still around. He seems to be out there and getting the job done. So it's just getting those people, getting the bridging to those people. And maybe we
Yeah.
saw who that's going to be as Carson Fulmer came up for a one-day stint and threw like three and a third solid innings.
Was it Fulmer or
Beautiful.
Cease?
No, it's Carson Fulmer. He was
Okay. All
brought up
right.
for just
I
one
get.
day. But
Okay.
he's a guy that was, for the longest time, a very highly regarded prospect and never put it together. And it's kind of do or die time for him. And maybe he's figuring it out. Maybe he's doing the work that he wasn't doing. Who knows what it is? But I got my fingers crossed. He is not a sure thing. But I hope he can be the guy that comes in and kind of makes that shaky bullpen more solid.
Hmm. Yeah. Anyone who can come in and just like put a stop to the bleeding would be helpful at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a couple games where you're like, it's like the sixth, seventh, eighth inning, and you're like, oh, the bullpen's on, and then they're like, wow, we just lost a 3-run lead,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little frustrating. That's where I'm like, how did we not get back pitching? Like, what did we like? That should have been a focus. If you're not going to go after a big name player to boost the offense, I get that. That's totally cool. Reshift the focus and get us something else. I mean, give me something that shows me you have faith in what you do, or that you want to win. Because at this point, you feel like you're losing faith. Flashes of
Yeah.
greatness
Yeah.
in the lineup, like Jimenez on Friday night, that's awesome. But like, people want to see everything running as a full oiled machine, and we're not there. Yeah.
No. No.
Anyways.
So just finishing up the predictions. So I got Dodgers 1, Padres 2 in the West with Rockies, then Diamondbacks, then Giants. I think their luck will run out, the Giants. I know you've got them a little bit higher. They just, I don't know, they're just old and slow, and they picked up Kevin Pillar, which should be a positive move for a fairly weak outfield for him. But but he's good for defense. He's not going to provide the offensive support that they need overall. So, but and really, I do have the Dodgers just running away with the West. They are not running away with it yet. And very quickly, I'll take a look who has been making the biggest moves in the last 7 days, and the biggest decrease is the Rockies. They're on the middle of an 8-game losing streak. Their playoff odds have gone down 15%. They're now just a 12% chance to make the playoffs. And let's see who has made the biggest. And the Yankees have gone down 13% as well, but they are still at 70.5%. The biggest increase has been the Tampa Bay Rays in that same division. They've gone up 13.5%. They kind of even money for them to make the playoffs again versus the Yanks.
Well, I think they're playing good baseball right now. They're taking advantage of the mistakes other teams are making, and this is a team that won 90 games last year. So I think the expectations like this, they're going to stay kind of right where they were last year, or they're going to get better, but like they're not going away. The Rays are here to stay, and I think the Red Sox, I really don't see them figuring it out. I think they're going to play in the cellar with Toronto all season long.
Yeah. So I've got for my National League wild card teams, which I'm starting to second guess myself. I've got the Cards making it in, Cardinals, and the Braves. But that means the Phillies don't make the playoffs in my scenario, which maybe I should go Phillies Braves. So both wild cards, actually all four in my scenario, then all 4 wild cards will come out of the East. Red Sox, Rays, Braves, Phillies.
It would be fun if the wild card in the National League did come out of the West, and you had the Padres actually in the mix.
Oh, it would be. It would
just because it would be a nice preview. I think not that they could go on and win it all. Who knows? Once you're in the playoffs, anything's possible. But it would be a really cool national preview of hey man, look at what this team has in the cooker on a national level. It's not just. I mean, you see their lineup and their pitching, and wow, it's a nice little introduction to what the Padres are going to become.
Sure.
And that's why I'd like to see them in the playoffs. But I think you're right, dude. It's all coming out of the East. The East is too competitive, and they're just going to leave the West behind in terms of wins and losses.
Sure.
You're just not going to have a wild card come out of the Central. I mean, I'm sorry, out of the West.
It's kind of amazing how for so long the National League has been definitely the lower talent level overall. But right now you look at the American League teams and the National League teams, and there's just so many more interesting teams in the National League than there are in the American League right now, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And everyone's hitting home runs right now, too. So, the balls are flying off the bat. So it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Offensive production right off the start of the season, and it's cold, dude.
Yes, it is.
When you're hitting a ball 106 miles off the bat in cold rain at night on a Friday night, dude, your hands gotta sting.
Oh yeah, I saw
Yasiel
Puig go make a diving catch as a highlight, and he had a full face mask on. Ooh, boy, I bet he's missing LA right now.
It's you're going to feel that in the morning, dude. When you wake up, you're going to be wow, that's sore,
Yeah.
Pretty crazy stuff, though. I like it, though, It's a good sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Game.
So I guess I'll allow myself to be a homer and say Brewers over the Astros for the World Series. Go Brew Crew. Not. I mean, I'm definitely being biased, but they're also a fantastic team, so not totally biased.
Right, I hear you. I think the Astros are going to win the World Series, and they're going to beat. What team will they beat? I think they're going to beat the Dodgers again.
All right.
In 7 games.
And how long before there's just riding in LA before? Talk about a team that's had a big window of opportunity. The Dodgers have done it, and they've done a good job of consistently being there, of continuing to add to the team, but just not being able to get that final win of the year.
I think a lot of it has to do with A lot of people will tell you they like Dave Roberts. He does a great job.
Hmm.
But like, if you're going to tell me that Joe Madden is on the verge of losing his job in Chicago, why wouldn't Dave Roberts be on the verge of losing his job in Los Angeles?
Sure.
They
Well, and they've
both get
already
they
bumped out Donnie Baseball, who was one that started this journey.
right, but like if you're gonna, you know what I'm saying, where it's like you can't have both one guy on the bubble and not the other, when they're both kind of marrying the same success in terms of getting to the postseason multiple years in a row, consistently, consecutively, but not getting the final win that puts
Sure.
you over the hump. Now, obviously, the Cubs did it in 2016, but they haven't done it again. It's hard to
Oh no.
repeat, but like they've been getting close. They get to the playoffs. They become, whether it's a wild card or a division win, they get to the NLCS. They're in it for the pennant, but they didn't. It's not. They're not getting back. So there's
Well, I,
frustration building in Chicago, but there has to be also building
absolutely.
in LA just the same.
Oh, I'm sure.
Um,
Absolutely. They're in a World
so
Series
I think
drought out there, not since 1988.
right, and I think Dave Roberts, as great of a guy he is, and people like playing for him, and yeah, he's gotten to the World Series 2 years in a row. They haven't won it. And at one point, do you say, "Hey, what happened? What was the breakdown? Why didn't we win it 2 years ago?" Oh, we put who was it? Who was the pitcher? I think he plays for the Cubs now. Hideo Nomo? No.
Oh, no, you're
Who
thinking about
started
Yu
Game Seven?
Darvish.
Yeah, Yu Darvish started Game 7 of the World Series. The day before or something like that, he had the flu, right? And, and he equals Marv Levy. Exactly. That's a good comment. Uh, so like you got
Really
a guy
quickly,
though who
Yu
starts
Darvish
the flow.
played with Yu Darvish was with the Rangers before the Cubs. So I don't know if you're thinking about
No,
Kenta Maeda.
maybe I don't know. It was whoever started Game 7 of the. No, Hugh Darvish got traded to the Dodgers, man, at the deadline or right
Maybe
before
I
the
missed that.
deadline, and then he signed with the Cubs as a free agent after the World
Oh,
Series.
gotcha.
And that's how I remember it. Touch, you're
Okay.
watching. Correct me if I'm wrong. But uh, so like you Darvish starts the Game 7 of the World Series against the Astros, and
Yeah, you're right.
so apparently he had like the flu the day before or that day of,
Uh-huh.
and they put him in and they started him knowing that he had the flu. Now you also had Clayton Kershaw who was ready to go fresh. Why
Yeah.
not just start Clayton Kershaw? And the damage was already done by the time
Yeah.
they put Kershaw in, and there was no
Sure.
turning back. So like that's a big, big mistake. Last year, same thing. What happens last year? What happened? You got
Yeah.
to Game 6 of the World Series, and you still, or whatever it was, they still lost. So I feel like, yeah, you start pointing at the management. We're making the same, or
You
they're
have to.
making the same mistakes year in and year out. That's not getting you to point A to point B, and that's Dave
Yeah.
Roberts, because the talent's there. Obviously, the talent is there, right?
Yeah,
They got
absolutely.
to the
It's
World
there.
Series
Yeah.
2 years in a row, so the talent is
Yeah.
there. That's
Not
not
easy to
the
do.
issue. The issue here is whether or not they're making the right
Some
decisions during the
management.
game
Yeah. Yeah.
and capitalizing on the mistakes the other team makes, and they didn't do that. Whereas the
Yeah.
Astros were like, "Oh, we know this guy's sick. We've seen him all season long. He's a National League guy. Boom, let's go at him." Or he was an American
Sure.
League pitcher with the
Hmm.
Rangers. So they already had their info on you, Darvish. They knew how to
Oh,
attack
sure.
him. So by the time, if he's sick and they know it, they're like, no problem. We'll knock him out of the game. Momentum will stay on our side. Now it's all strategery.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was bad.
No,
Anyway,
that's awesome.
uh,
Well, everybody that was that tuned in, whether you came and went or if you're watching this on the replay later, thanks for tagging along with us. By all means, please leave comments. Let us know who you think will make the playoffs. Who's going to surprise us? Who is going to be? If you've got any trade predictions, that's always a fun one too. Especially now
yeah,
that there's only one trade deadline, not the waiver, non-waiver, all that stuff. But yeah, we are almost an hour and a half into this bad boy. We usually try to stick it close to an hour. But we will be right back here, 10:30 Central, 8:30 Pacific, every Sunday morning. So until then, play ball.
play
Oh,
ball.
Joe, do you have anything to
Hey,
promote? Great,
uh,
Hutch, absolutely. Thanks for coming in. It's been
yeah,
too long, man.
it's been a while, Hutch. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I got a couple things going on. April 23rd, I'm at Time Warp Records in Santa Monica for
Cool.
a show. It's a 10:30 show. Check it out. It's gonna be really cool. And then on May 6th, I'm doing a pajama show at Sales Comedy Hall.
All
I
right.
think it's Monday, May 6th, but we'll talk. We'll have more info on that next week, more details, and you can see me tell jokes in pajamas, not underwear,
Nice.
pajamas. Like we're talking Tom, like Mike Brady type,
Footies.
onesies,
Nice.
that kind of deal. So
Yeah.
like that's gonna be cool, and then just plugging away, the show every week here with you, making baseball magic.
Yeah,
Next
there
week
we
we should
go.
also talk about our favorite. Hutch, think about this, Hutch. We want to know your favorite baseball movies. Top five. Don't answer now. Something to think
Think
about
about
over
it.
the
Let it
next week.
marinate.
Marinate it, yes, and then we'll talk about it next week on the show instead of like just always stats and stuff like that. I think that'll be kind of cool. Let's
I see, just as we're signing off, Chris Pry, a good friend of mine, a big Cubs fan, just signed in. You'll have to watch the replay, and we did baseball predictions, and love to hear your points
yeah,
back. If you're pissed at us, because we didn't trash the Cubs, honestly, but we were realistic, I think. Um,
practical. I think is the best word.
Practical.
Practical.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Numbers don't lie. They tell a story, and the story is last place.
Yeah. That was Joe's. That was Joe. I
Yeah.
don't have them in last place, but I don't have them making the playoffs either. I guess spoiler alert if you're going to go back and watch.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
for me, over at the ghost story side of my world, what'syourghoststory.com, I'm doing the A to Z video vlog challenge where every day I take a new topic going
Cool.
A through Z and doing a live stream over on YouTube for it. But if you go to facebook.com/what'syourghoststory, you can vote on the topics coming up that I'll be talking about. And I'll be
All
doing a
right.
few of them today because I got to catch up. It's been a
What
busy week.
letter are you on right now?
I will be on I. Today I'll be talking about I, and I'll be talking about Irish legends and lore.
I is for Irish. It's the letter I.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. Very
So
cool,
that's been
man.
a
That
lot of
sounds pretty
fun. Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it's a good
Awesome.
time.
So, all
Again,
right,
good
cool.
job, Joe. Great
Thank
talking to
you,
you as always.
as
And
always.
uh,
Yeah.
and again, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll catch you guys back here in 1 week.